Commissioner Smith, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, we're counting you present, sir. That was our fault for not being totally hooked up when we ran your name by the roll call. I'll continue with Rebecca Phillips with ACHD. Austin Miller with Compass. Aaron Sweeney with WASD. Kate Dahl, VRT.
Here.
Hey, Kate, glad to know you're out there. Justin Price, ITD. Sergeant Carter,
Present.
welcome. Tishra Murray,
I'm here.
thank you, ma'am. Brian McClure, I understand, is not here today. And Craig Bergman, I will speak for him, is here and present.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
If you may.
We had a couple of late attendees get into the Zoom call.
Okay,
It looks like we have Rebecca Phillips from ACHD. We also have Zach Shoemaker. Commissioner Shoemaker is online.
Mr. Shoemaker, welcome. Ms. Phillips, welcome.
And I am still waiting to hear from Miranda Carson from West Data. She is in Zoom.
Mr. Chair, I am here. I will be ex officio for West Data until July, and then Aaron Sweeney will take over in July.
We were wondering about that. Thank you very much. Weren't trying to get rid of you, just wondering whose name we should use. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Does staff have any proposed changes? Hearing none, do the commissioners have any proposed changes to the agenda? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Tracy Hopkins, second by Mr. Ballard. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The agenda is adopted. Next item is the approval of the minutes of the April 6th meeting. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, changes? Hearing none, I will tell you that I talked to Mr. Bergman about what I would consider a couple of Scrivener's situations, and those will be corrected in the final minutes. I did ask him to change the comment at the bottom of page 6 that no official motion was made to adjourn to reflect that an extension of time was made back up at action 5 or 6, and that the adjournment occurred because we ran out of time and didn't keep going to do an adjournment. Any other comments? All in favor of the minutes of April 6th, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? They are adopted. Okay, the next item is the transportation project tracking by staff. Comments, questions by any commissioner member? Oh, let me do this way. Craig, if you got anything you want to point out to us in that section, and then after that, I'll ask commissioners to question or comment.
I have no updates as far as project tracking. There were some small updates on the tracking sheet, but no major project movements.
Okay. I will make one comment in that I am thrilled to death that you can now drive Black Cat going south from Ustack. And a lot of things have changed along that stretch of Black Cat in the last, seems like, year that I've not been able to do that. We have a future meeting item to talk about speeding, Sergeant Carter, on Pine, that I've asked to be held until we get more people aware that Black Cat and Ustack is open north and south, and to see if that does anything to the traffic on Pine. So you might keep that in mind, and if you see it's really picked up or really, or whatever, let us know and we'll bring that item up in a future agenda. Okay, nothing else?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
it's Caleb. I may just
quickly, it's not in the memo, but on Linda Road, over Linda Franklin, including the overpass on page 13. ACHD did have bid openings a couple weeks ago, and this Wednesday, they are scheduled to award the bid, or not, but award the bid is on their docket. So we'll come with more information, but phase two, so that would be the overpass of I-84, including the roadway widening up to Franklin Road, is likely to be let this week to a contractor.
Do you have any information on the bidding itself? How many bidders, whether they were above, below estimate or whatever?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, there were, if memory serves, 4, I think, responsive bidders. The apparent low bid was, I believe, 18 million. And engineer's estimate was in the 21 million dollars. So it came in below the engineer's estimate by, I don't know, percentage wise, 10,
Wonderful.
12, 15%, something like that.
Good. Okay. Things are moving along. Next item on our agenda is the Transportation Commission end of year report. This is the report that I gave to City Council. And there were a couple of questions raised by council members while I was in that meeting with them that I wanted to share with y'all. But before we do that, I also wanted to share with you comments that some of the council people made regarding the Transportation Commission. And Craig, you have that on tape?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair. Give me 1 second while I get you all loaded up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Council, any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Overton.
not a question, but a comment. Chairman Steed, thank you again. I can't understate the fact that the Transportation Commission today is one of the most valuable ones we have in our city for the roles you take. Anytime you look at a map of this county, we're ground zero when it comes to the challenges of transportation in the future. And it's incredibly valuable, the expertise you guys bring to the table and help us as guiding us through how we work through the 5-year plan strategies for moving forward as a city. So I can't thank you and the rest of your commission enough for the work you guys do. It's immensely important.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Little Roberts.
Chairman Steed, I will just echo President Overton's expressing his appreciation, because I can't count how many times we have leaned into exactly what has come out of the commission, or even knowing that it's been discussed, or we'll say, ask Caleb, can you take this to the commission? And he can say, it's already been discussed and I was there and this is what the discussion was. So it is a very, very valuable tool to this city. So thank you very much to you and the commission.
Thank you also. I'll pass that on to the commission.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Taylor.
Chairman Steve, thank you. Again, I appreciate it, just like my fellow colleagues. Really also appreciated the guidance you guys provided us with some feedback on the drive-through discussion. That was a much bigger discussion and conversation than I think we all anticipated. But it was really helpful and I appreciate your comments. I did have a
From there, Mr. Chair, they go into the questions that are included in your packet.
Okay. And was there anyone? Oh, yeah, that's right. And Councilman Whitlock's microphone was not working, so he also had comments, but I wanted y'all to hear the compliments that you were getting from the city council members. Insofar as Councilmember Taylor, in your packet are the 3 questions verbatim from him. And I told him that I would get these to you, give you an opportunity to comment on them, and that I'd be very happy to write a response back to himself and the rest of the council and the mayor regarding what you had to say. So the first one was looking forward to the upcoming year. Are there areas that are achievable that you think we should start focusing on when setting priorities? I'm pleased that you're having to think about it because I was standing right there and I couldn't think of, I went blank when he did that. So it's apparently not the easiest yes, no question.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Leclerc.
we present our list of projects. I mean, the main job we do is that project recommendation list that they get and they've already seen. And so we try to do such a good job with that list that there isn't much to add. So I think that's why we're kind of short for an answer to that.
That's okay. I'm not insisting you think of anything. I'm just wanting to give you the opportunity.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
it's going to come up here later, but I think e-bikes and scooters are going to be a problem if we don't figure out how to get a handle on it, because rules and regulations for those don't seem to exist. I mean, they exist, but they're not being followed. And kids younger and younger and younger are on them.
Okay, anyone else?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Ballard.
I would echo Mr. Hopkins' comments. At least within the last week, maybe it was yesterday or the day before, kid on the scooter passing cars in traffic in a lane, so he had to be exceeding the speed limit. And then another scooter acting as if he is a motorcycle in the lane. And it's a cultural shift, but it's like when I first started driving, they say, how do you pick up a motorcycle? Because you don't expect you don't expect that vision. You don't expect to see that in your line of sight. And it helps if there's a headlight on a motorcycle. That's big. They're wearing more reflective clothes. But you get some kid on a scooter going however he or she pleases down the road. And there's a tragic answer to that.
Well, we're going to discuss this at length later on in the agenda. I will add to your comment that yesterday, going over to Boise State for an event, I had a young man and a young blonde, very blonde lady, both on a scooter, wearing flip-flops that they with the light went in front of me and then down the street before they moved up on the sidewalk, and off they went. But we'll talk about more of the details of that here in a little while. Anything else on your minds regarding the things that the council should be focusing on when setting priorities?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I'm sure a good portion of this is also kind of my planning and zoning brain coming to mind, but I think it's interconnected, is really transit oriented development, and especially around mixed use. There's a decreasing amount of mixed use available, undeveloped mixed use properties in the city. And a lot of the way that mixed use developments tend to be kind of going is they're not kind of your traditional kind of maybe how you might imagine mixed use or look at it in the kind of our comprehensive plan about like these highly walkable areas. They're tending to be a little bit more commercial next to residential. And I think that one thing is worth considering is, I know a lot of our mixed use planning and stuff has been around kind of transit oriented development and things like that. And one of the things that I've been chewing on, and I think it might be worth having a conversation, if not having action or just having conversation, at least at the council level, is whether the current route that mixed use development is going down in the city is in line with kind of where we anticipate mixed use sitting within our transit corridors and how we expect mixed use developments to kind of interface with the transportation network. Because I think there might be a disconnect there that on a 20-year timeline could pose some issues.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Ballard?
I don't think I can fit within the parameters that what is achievable. But I asked myself, how do we make people, or excuse me, how do we foster being more safe and taking less challenges? I'm thinking of the police, and they may see it, but everyone's in a hurry. No one's patient. I can drive any day and have to stop because somebody decides they want to cut in front. And I know maybe it's Pollyannic, but I just go, how do we get back to showing a little bit of courtesy when we're driving?
Anyone else? Okay, his second question was, is there something the council should start thinking about that is smaller and more bite-sized that is worth prioritizing? Okay, and then his third one was, in your opinion, or from information you have heard, do you have a sense of how Highway 16 will relieve traffic on the adjacent roadways? What kind of impact do you think this is going to have on other arterials? I will tell you that that is one I did answer by saying I don't know. That I have not been able to pin down anyone with ITD, or for that matter otherwise, that has taken it upon themselves to look at me and say, it's going to do this. I know there are projections back there, and it may be just a matter of wait and see. Put Mr. Lancaster on the spot. You're ITD. Do you either have you heard, or do you know, or would you like to duck it like I did with an I don't know?
Well, Mr. Chairman, speaking generally, so it may have very short-term impact to improve operations on area arterials, but any benefit that way will be short. In general, it's going to increase volumes network-wide, not decrease.
The system will just absorb it all up,
Mm-hmm.
or something to that effect.
Yep.
Anyone else?
So
Chairman?
if I can add, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
so,
please.
You know, I recently reviewed a study in a different part of the valley, and I said it looked, their projections looked okay, and the person that asked me to review came back to me and says, are you okay with the operations being that bad in 2050? I said, it's not whether I'm okay with it or not. This is what's going to happen, right? And so that's how it is with State Highway 16 and continued, growth in the west part of Ada County. So that's it.
Mr. Ballard.
So I see impact to the three intersections, 10 Mile, Meridian, and Eagle.
On the interstate.
Yes,
Okay.
because
Okay.
16, to flesh out or tag on what Mr. Lancaster said, people moving east and west can take 16 and then get to the interstate. But they have to get off if they're working in the Meridian area, or even for that matter, the Boise area. So I think the impact will be increased volumes at those interchanges. And when people figure that out, do you go back to the arterials? But that's my observation.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, I had a couple of things and they may fit under the, his second question. And I bring this up every opportunity I get, and people act like they're hearing me, not that anything's going to happen, but I would love to see a northbound exit at Linder off of 84, thinking it would take some pressure off of 10 Mile. 10 Mile is rapidly becoming a northbound parking lot more and more each day. And then the second one that's one of my favorites, if we could find the money, is not only add an extra lane or a slip lane or whatever y'all call it between Meridian and Eagle, but extend it back to 10 Mile. I do my best not to do this, but I was having to go downtown for an 8 o'clock meeting the other day, and I sat on the ramp going on to 84 because of all the traffic. And I'm sure that probably happens every morning. I just don't know about it. But a slip lane or extra lane would allow cars to possibly get on and move left into the more through lanes and get away from the people that are shuffling with Meridian and Eagle. So those are the two things that come to my mind. Anybody else on any of that?
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Leclerc.
it's on our agenda, a future topic, Cherry Lane arterial corridor preservation. All of those westbound arterials, Cherry Lane, McMillan, we will be I think we'll be recommending arterial corridor preservation. In other words, enough lanes for the future.
And we did that in the past on Macmillan, and I'm pretty sure ACHD heard us. Whether or not they plan to ever do it, at least presumably they're preserving for us.
Well, this is why I think it might be worth mentioning, because as we do that work, it may be more effective to have us make recommendations to the council and have them make formal recommendations to ACHD. So far, I think we've just been working directly with ACHD, but I don't know. That might be an item that they may see more and more activity on, I guess, at the council level.
Okay.
So that's another small one.
Councilmember Whitlock asked, as you look at safety and transportation in general, how do we focus on keeping our people safe as well as making sure they can get from point A to point B in a timely manner? And I think that was a precursor to Mr. Ballard's comment a moment ago, and probably one of yours, Mr. Leclerc. Anybody have anything on that one?
Well, Mr. Chairman, if
Mr.
I
Ballard.
can expand on that. Today was a good example. I'm seeing a young lad walking south on Eagle, just kind of frolicking along. And then he decides it's a green light and he's going to cross the street and doesn't look in any direction in the crosswalk.
What was on his phone?
No, I don't know. Either that or he had a headset on. But, you know, I go back to the point and I see pedestrians more and more. To use Mr. Lancaster's comment, it's like they have a force field around them. They're just going to cross the street and hope that you're paying attention. And I don't know how we get that message across, but I kind of snicker. I drive my pickup and people, you know, they pass and they're upset because I'm doing the speed limit. But I pull up alongside of them at the red light. And what did they accomplish other than bobbing and weaving and getting through the traffic? And so if there's a message out there, how do we foster, you know, take another look before you cross that street? And it's not little kids either. These are grown people that just walk out in front of cars.
Okay. All right. If there's nothing else on item 3, we'll move to item 4 and the,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
Feedback for the council member Whitlock.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
I think
please.
The city did some good work with intersections and intersection safety, and there are things we can do to make these very busy intersections more safe, and we've made some progress there. And so that's the sort of thing we appreciate the council's work in that area too, and we'll continue to make recommendations. It's our goal every day to make transportation happen and be safe. So that's our motto. So we appreciate what Commissioner Whitlock's asking, and we're all working together to do just what he wants, I think.
Okay. All right, item 4, the Woodbridge Neighborhood Area Update. Mr. Bergman, got your name beside it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, there's a couple of updates for Woodbridge subdivision that weren't included in the packet last month, just timing issue. First one is City Council did send a letter in support of, or looking to see if they can close one troublesome street in the subdivision that's allowing for cut-through traffic from Eagle Road to Locust Grove. That letter was sent out March 27th, and I believe was included in your packet. The response from ACHD came in after, or right around the meeting time, and that was the part that we wanted to provide an update on. Is ACHD legal department reviewed the City of Meridian's request, and then ultimately came to the decision that blocking off a public street is against Idaho code. So we wanted to provide that update for you today.
I'll start with a couple of comments on that. I do not believe that State Code 40-2319 does what you just said, which is prevents blocking of state right-of-ways. It talks about encroachments, removal, penalty for failure to remove, the fact that county and highway districts are required to remove them, et cetera. A question for Mr. Hood. I believe I remember where cities, after work by development and permit people, have required a developer to put a second exit from a subdivision or some such in case the main first one becomes unusable and there's a, I don't know, foothills forest fire or something coming, and they have to have a way to get out, but it's not a regularly used public right-of-way. It has something such as a gate that's openable by the fire department or police department or some such. Am I not correct that that does happen?
Mr. Chair, sure. What I was trying to think of while you were kind of the backstory there, those are all typically, and I can't think of any that are public accesses. So that secondary emergency access is typically just an easement that the fire department, emergency services can access, not a public right of way. So not dedicated and improved to ACHD standards or ITD standards. It's just on private property.
Okay. I will have to play with the internet a little bit and see if I can find one. Anyone else with comments, questions? Mr. Lancaster, I see you fixing to raise your hand.
Mr. Chairman. So my thoughts were the same as I read this ACHD memo. Not that I'm, this recommendation from the city wasn't ours, and it's not our letter, nor am I advocating that street be closed. But I did think that the internal memo at ACHD was a bit strange, that the reply didn't seem to correlate with the question. So it seemed like If something ends up in the road, whether on purpose or it falls off the truck, that ACHD can remove it, not.
Or should remove it.
Or should remove it, not the question of, can this road be closed by that agency, right? They didn't match up, it seems, so.
I know that you can close right of ways, but it takes certain procedures and actions to do it.
Yeah, you can create new roads, you can close old roads, right? I mean,
But there's a process for it. Mr. Ballard.
So it's blending two concepts. Idaho Code -40-203 addresses what Mr. Lancaster said. There is a process to abandon a road. So the context there is a road gets dedicated, a highway district accepts it, and money is then received. So you're maintaining the road. So there's a public use out there. All right. Now, but as Mr. Lancaster says, if I close this road and open up another one, okay, that's one example. But I see what Woodbridge is doing, and I understand their concern, is they want the best of both worlds. We're going to close the road to the public, but we're going to continue to use it ourselves as if it's a private lane. Because they're going to come and go. And they get to go through gates. I get it.
That was not my understanding. My understanding, Mr. Hood, you may want to help me here. My understanding was the intent of the city letter was to close it to all traffic with the exception of emergency vehicles.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think that is some of the issue is that different people, when asked the question, had different thoughts of how this gate would function. Some thought, oh, I'll still have a key card access because I live in Woodbridge, where the letter really was put it up and it can only be accessed by emergency service vehicles. So the secondary emergency access only type of but I think there was some, oh, a gate sounds nice. Well, who can open the gate? Wasn't really fully vetted out. So when you guys are maybe done with that, I did think of an example if you want me to, where ACHD's done this in the past. So again, question answered, I don't know the code citation, but I can show you where they've actually installed a gate historically on where two public right-of-ways come together, if you want.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Let's go back to the original concept. What is the subdivision asking to do? Because I struggle with, if I own a house there, how do I get out onto Locust Grove or Eagle Road if there's a gate that only law enforcement and emergency services have access?
So, Mr. Chair, I can,
Good.
I mean, that is your only access is out to Locust Grove. So Locust Grove isn't the issue. It's if you want to go west. Now, Locust Grove will become an issue because everyone has to go through one access point. So that's going to stack up. Especially someone trying to turn left across Locust Grove to go southbound out of Woodbridge at a peak time. You could be there for minutes and then everyone just stacks up behind you. So
you'd put a gate.
the gate would be at the
on east-
far end. Yes. So where the assisted living and so
Yeah.
right there is basically where you'd put the gate. So anyone west of the gate goes west and anyone east of the gate goes east.
And the council letter, the bottom of their first paragraph states, give serious consideration to closing Magic View Drive with an emergency access gate to restrict through traffic, at least until a new collector roadway further to the south is realized.
And again, Mr. Chair, what I've heard from a couple of the neighbors in Woodbridge is how it was, the question was asked, though maybe through their HOA wasn't clear how this gate was functioned. So the letter says that, but how they polled their residents, it maybe wasn't clear how this gate would actually work.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, let me throw out another thought and, okay, I haven't, need to do a little more research. Now, one suggestion, the subdivision, the complex that I live in, you have access to Eagle Road to drive through the subdivision. There was some discussion that at some point that access to Eagle Road going east would be closed and the road would become a cul-de-sac. So apparently there's some authority out there to modify a road.
Hmm.
I'm not aware of it.
Was it?
Not so far. But there again, I kind of tuned that out. Other than that's the access I use to get onto the freeway well, I get to cut through traffic because I live there. I try to avoid Eagle and Franklin when at all possible. But I'm just trying to understand the concept and all right, so this would be a temporary closure?
So, Mr. Chair, maybe I can handle that one. I think some of the conversation at council was interim anyways. And then to get that a little bit further to the south, we did that study. Carl Anderson was here. And once the road can get punched out to Locust Grove near ICOM, then potentially opening this back up because then you have options for traffic to flow. Right now, it's the only game in town. So you do get a lot of cut through traffic there. But once there's another option, maybe they'll go to the signal at Central and Locust Grove and use that to get back and forth. And that can be designed as a collector with no front on housing.
The applicable word is it might be reopened.
Yeah.
Which also says it may not be reopened.
I will say my 2 cents, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. While I don't have the Idaho code citation there, I think if it were going to be more of a permanent situation, ACHD, the right thing to do would be to vacate that right away. Then if there's no public use for it, it's a permanent closure of that, you cul-de-sac it and you vacate that right of way back to the adjacent property owners. The public has no interest in owning and maintaining something if I can't use it, that doesn't make any sense. So ACHD should direct the property owners to apply for a vacation of any right of way then if the public really can't use it. So once there are cul-de-sacs, if you will, or turnarounds, anything left? Now, we've got the letter, so I don't know that this has much legs at this point, but if it really does and it becomes a permanent closure there, that's what I would envision happening.
Well, okay, so 4203 then possibly addresses, there is a process to abandon a road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wild thought. I don't mean to monopolize the conversation. What happens to property values? You sell the house and somebody says, you're going to buy something that's going to take me twice as long to access it now?
Buddy might say I'll pay more because I get to live on a street that's really quiet.
Well, okay. Half full, half empty. I get it.
The kids can play basketball in the street. A cul-de-sac. Mr. Leclerc, you don't have any vested interest in this, do you?
Well,
That you would like to declare?
I live there, yes. I don't understand my housing ownership, HOA leadership. But my comments about this letter, the city requests Ada County Highway District give serious consideration of closing Magic View Drive. And they respond with a legal opinion about removing barriers. So I agree with Commissioner Lancaster. I don't think they've answered our city council's question yet. And so I don't know if there's a way to give that feedback or if the mayor and the council are already working on it, but it seems like this apples and oranges didn't line up on this question and answer. So that's just my comment. I just agree with Commissioner Lancaster.
Ms. Murray, are you still out there?
I am here.
Any thoughts?
Did you get my email reply?
I did.
Okay. Yeah, the legal department is letting the mayor's office take the lead on this issue, so we're not weighing in at this time.
So apparently it's still in the works in some fashion.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I look at 4203, then it suggests some type of legal procedure. And so is Steve Price trying to be objective? Is he simply writing, you can't unilaterally decide to do this? And behind that is take a look at some procedures. And if 4203 talks about filing a petition, to me, that suggests an administrative law process, which is then subject to judicial review. Going up and down on appeals, that's somewhere between 5 to 10 years out to get a favorable decision.
Perfect.
But I was trying to figure out what's behind this, and I get it. Okay, if there's a process, if they check the right boxes, convince an adjudicative judge or whatever this process is that it is, maybe it is a viable option.
Anyone else? For the thoughts,
Mr. Chair.
it is an information item. It's not an action item. I heard someone.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I can
Yes.
chime in, Sergeant Carter.
Please.
For what it is worth, over the past couple of weeks, I had two of our motor officers and one of our traffic officers that's in a patrol vehicle. Worked that area Monday through Friday, various times throughout the day. We spent about 15 hours out there. We had 8 citations.
For?
Speed.
Okay.
1 citation of cell phone. We gave 7 warnings. Warnings were in between that 26 to 30 mile per hour range. It is 25 mile per hour zone. We had 1 DUI in that area as well. Multiple people we stopped lived in that neighborhood. Most of those got the warning and maybe another issue. But all 3 of my officers said about 90 to 95% of the cars were going the speed limit in between 25 to 29, which would be over. So as an officer that's worked for this city for the past 13 years, I know that lots of cars use that as the bypass, like all you gentlemen have stated, including officers as well, depending on our time of day, because we know that's the quickest way to the PD. So, but we can continue to work those areas as well. But for what it's worth, those are those stats for 15 hours.
So to paraphrase, it is a cut through.
Yes, sir.
But it's not a horrible speeding cut through.
Well, Mr. Chair, I don't know if I can say that. I know if I stood out in front of,
Horrible may not be in the PD dictionary.
I know if I stood out in front of my house here in Meridian and I could see a volume of traffic increase, I know what normal is. I know what a volume increase is. And if I sat there and tried to estimate speed, I don't necessarily know if I would get that 100% accurate based on mufflers and certain vehicles. And I think they're going really fast and they may be going over the speed limit, but by how much? So.
Well, it goes back to my comment you've heard before that every parent with a child in the front yard thinks the car going by in front of the house is doing 80 miles an hour.
Mr. Chair, I
Okay.
agree.
Other thoughts, Mr. Lancaster?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I didn't have anything more until Sergeant Carter mentioned a few things, and I really appreciate that experience and feedback. That's very interesting stuff. Yeah, thank you for speaking up and sharing. I I guess my comment is this, largely fits with, some fundamental principles of speed limits is, you've probably heard of speed limits are set at the 85th percentile, and that means, 85% of all vehicle users are going the speed limit or lower. And one of the reasons for that is so that the police can focus on that fastest 15%, right? So if you're finding that 90 to 95% of users are within a reasonable speed, then that's at least speed wise, that's pretty appropriate, right? Anytime that a speed limit is set too low, let's say 50% of all users exceed the speed limit, that's just not practical, right? Sergeant Carter and the rest of the Meridian police can't enforce 50%, right? It's just not practical. So, I guess those are some thoughts I had hearing you as, at least speed wise, it seems reasonably appropriate, how things are operating today. So, yeah, thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, again, that's an information item. We will move on, and I would ask staff, legal and staff, if something occurs, the mayor's office or legal office to create more information for us. I would like for us to talk about putting it on a future agenda.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I can just piggyback before we move on to the next item. You may recall, I think it was in maybe last month's, Kendall Kimmer at ACHD is going to do some counts for pedestrian traffic, because also part of the Woodbridge neighborhood was asking about some crosswalks, some additional crosswalks in there, striping and signage and those types of things. So we do plan on having some version of Woodbridge, traffic requests back on your agenda here sometime, maybe later this summer.
Thank you. Okay, item number 5, another information item regarding a request by Mr. Lancaster regarding temporary traffic controls. Mr. Lancaster, the microphone is yours.
Okay, well, Mr. Chairman, this isn't something new, right? This is something that I asked that we bring back for consideration. We've talked about this over the past several months, along with the school zone stuff. These kind of came to us as at the same time. We kind of focused on the school zone stuff, and I guess now I'm ready to jump back to this one, but so, a few months ago, we had Diane Bevins come here from ACHD. We've seen in the staff correspondence information about ACHD's seemingly new practice of installing extra stop signs through neighborhoods that are in the vicinity of closures, specifically where Ustick is closed currently in Meridian between Linder and 10 Mile. Does that sound right? Yeah. That ACHD has installed additional stop signs through the neighborhoods north and south of Ustick to dissuade users from using those roads while Ustick is closed. So in some ways, this is a little bit similar to.
Let me interrupt. From using different roads from the indicated detour route.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've also had discussion here that such use of stop signs is, well, one, ACHD used to come here and say, we don't do that. That's a prohibited use of stop signs. Mr. Wasson used to say that regularly from right over here, right? And now Ada County Highway District seems to be promoting just the opposite. So that's a concern. There's some Mr. Lewis isn't here with us today, but Commissioner Lewis has shared that there's some, well, such practice may be prohibited by law. So I guess that, that's a bit of a recap of how we got to here. I certainly have concern that, that this is a practice that takes public roads that are open to all traffic and is intentionally trying to restrict their use. It's similar to this Woodbridge discussion in that, yes, there's cut through traffic through Woodbridge, but it's a public road, right? It's open to all traffic. And that's the case with, these neighborhoods where these extra stop signs are installed. So I'll pause there for now, Mr. Chairman.
Before I call on the sergeant, any other commissioner comments or questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir, please.
what I've noticed when they put these, I mean, in my neighborhood, they probably put 8 to 10 different intersections, never been signed before, with stop signs and stop bars, catching people completely off guard. People run those pretty regularly because they just ignore them. And then all of a sudden, they take half of them out. When the project's done, ACHD made the comment that, oh, we'll take all those back. They don't take all of those back out. They survey certain areas and they'll take some of them out, leaving some of them in. Sometimes they'll take a sign out and leave the stop bar. Sometimes they'll take the stop bar out, leave the sign. The other part of that, which I've been caught on, and I've had to tell my family, hey, pay attention, because no longer does cross traffic have to stop like it was for the last 4 or 5 months. Now that stop sign's gone and them people are going and we're stopping. So it's just confusing the way that they're doing this for temporary purposes. So, and to add one more thing, Mr. Wasson used to say about speed humps. I mean, it would take an act of God to get a speed hump from ACHD. Now they just put them in whether you want it or not. You used to have to take a survey of the neighborhood and like 85% of the people had to agree that they wanted to speed, not anymore. They'll just put it in and they don't take those out. They're there.
Reacting to that, I was told by ACHD that the stop signs, and I know you've seen different, but what they told me was the stop signs will come out and we will survey the neighborhood to see if they want the speed humps to stay or not. But that was just in conversation with, can't remember who, but one of the executives at ACHD. But yeah, but in terms of they took part of the stop signs out and left the others, you've got a neighborhood and you know better, so.
Well, they had so many in. I mean, I'm sure it takes them a while to figure out what they've got and what they don't. I mean, they did so much during that time that maybe they missed them.
Sergeant, I didn't warn you, but I will ask you, do you have any input or comment regarding the topic? Of the addition of stop signs and speed humps to preclude people in construction areas from using streets other than the designated detour route?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I echo your frustration with all of that as a resident and as essentially an officer in this city. I'm not a huge fan of them myself. I'm not a huge fan of the speed humps or any other way to detour traffic. I think a speed limit sign works just fine. Everyone should adhere to the speed limit in said subdivision or area where they're driving. That being said, I see the reason why they may put some in there when they detour traffic for road construction. Now we have an increased amount of volume of traffic in that area that they're not used to being in that area every day. So I can sympathize with why they would put the additional stop signs or speed humps there. But I certainly agree, when construction was over, all of that should be removed. Now, I look at it from a separate point of view, as all of you look at it different than I maybe, but that would be my thoughts on that.
Do you have any feeling for whether your officers are seeing stop sign running of the new signs, or an unusual amount of rolling or not observing stop signs because they've been put up on a temporary basis as opposed to one that's been there all along?
Well, Mr.
And the same question regarding
Yeah.
speed humps. Do you?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I mean, usually when we get these complaints from our citizens, what I'll try to do is I'll vet it first myself or my corporal. We'll let our motors work the major areas, and we'll let our other traffic officers work crashes and or other hotspots. And we'll go out there and vet some of these. Is it worth my time? Is it worth our time to have an officer hang out here for hours upon hours? Most of the time, the people rolling the stop signs are the ones that live in the neighborhood. Sir.
Okay. Anyone else? Again, it's an information item, so no action is allowed. Further comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would add that to Mr. Whitlock's list, or Mr. Taylor's list. I'd circle back to page 27. Are there areas that are achievable and setting priorities? Maybe it bears further conversation with, I don't want to call it a task force, or does that conversation get taken up with city council and say, that's a safety issue too? I would ask to take Mr. Lancaster's topic and add that to Mr. Taylor's list. If
Okay.
I can use that in an objective, complementary fashion. That
Sure.
came out a little harsh.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
quick follow-up can staff get a little more direction on how you'd like to carry this action or this item forward for future meeting topics? Because as far as bringing somebody additional from ACHD, I'm sure we've kind of exhausted that well a little bit. How would commission like staff to proceed with this?
Lancaster, it's your topic.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, since you say it's information and we can't take any action on it, then I would like to see this an action item next month, so that we can take action. So Mr. Chairman, I don't think we particularly need any more information from Ada County Highway District on why they've chosen this practice. We've had that with Ms. Bevins already, but I would like to be able to take action on this.
So maybe just to prod a little bit more, is there anything staff can do over the next 30 days or so then for the next meeting? Any data or, I mean, we're not inviting ACHD, I heard that, but what can we, if anything, what can we do to assist in whatever action may be forthcoming next month?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I don't know that I have any request. I would, yeah, I don't have any request at this time. I'm ready to take action when permitted to do so.
Bergman, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you both.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Ballard.
To borrow a comment from former council member Dave Zarumba, I'm going to ask a sideways question. So listening to Sergeant Carter's comments, and bear with me, I'm a fan of law enforcement. I have family members who are law enforcement. But I take it from your comments that you have developed statistics or at least information come in as to, if I call it trouble spots or hot spots. And I don't know if you're at liberty to share that, but how do you weigh? So do you get complaints that says, okay, we have these signs during construction and they're problematic because there's an increase of incidents here from them, or there's a decrease of incidents? So what are metrics, if you can share, that says these are areas of focus, or is it the squeaky wheel theory that if somebody complains loud enough, long enough, we'll go take a look?
Mr. Commissioner, yes. When they complain, that gets put on my table. If there's no complaints, then I don't necessarily know if there's a problem in certain subdivisions. So that being said, I get lots of emails that come from the mayor's office or the chief's or directly to my inbox that give a wide variety of locations within the city that I will send my people out to work, notice. There's a couple of different ways that we can do that. Be it if we want to put our radar indicators that actually give us hard data as to are people speeding in this area, if it was a speed related issue, before I ever send a body out there to work that area. Or I would go out there, or my corporal, like I said, and let my actual traffic motors enforce speed or other concerns on major streets. That being said, though, if I don't know there's a problem, I don't necessarily know to work it, if that answers your question.
Need some data there, bud. I was trying to help you.
Okay, next item is number 6, and then another information item, school flashers during lunch periods. When is school out? When is West Ada School District done?
Before Memorial Day, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Somebody said that as if they can't wait. I'm gonna, Mr. Lancaster, I'm gonna give you the mic on this one. It seems to have something to do with some of your thinking and thoughts, so let's let you start this.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything to add to this. We took action last meeting and the letter signed by you is in the packet. I'm as curious as everyone, what comes next. So,
Mr. Chair, maybe I can.
I have attempted to talk about it after the letter went and have not had anyone engage me on it. That doesn't mean that they won't or there's nothing. You had asked me earlier today why the packet was so thin on this item. It's because we don't have anything. Mr. Hood.
Yeah, I was just gonna, for those that may not have had a chance to look at the packet, there's a very brief letter that was sent by the chair to the mayor and council regarding school zone flashers at the high schools in West Ada School District boundary. There was a little bit of back and forth I was copied on, maybe even sent to me directly to Mr. Chair saying, what does this really mean? It's just an action that the commission took, a stance really, but no why. So the backstory a little bit. And as the chairman just explained, I think he's been trying to connect with council president. I wouldn't be surprised if someone's requested from your body to come and give the backstory and explain the why behind this. But that hasn't been an official request yet. So, but I do anticipate, I don't know if expect or anticipate, but I wouldn't be surprised anyways if that request comes at some time in the future that council invites someone representing the Transportation Commission to come and at a workshop or a council meeting explain a little bit more this request. But yeah, as of right now, we don't have any more information, and yeah, that's the update.
And I'll finish it by saying that the letter to council dated April 10 was as brief as it was because I decided not to put backstory, so I didn't want to twist it one way or the other. And I put in there as best staff could get it from the video, the recordings and everything else, the verbiage of the motion as it was. Stay tuned, I guess.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thanks for the update. When the invitation comes, I think we need to accept that invitation to.
We will do so.
So.
And we will react to it in whatever fashion it is indicated.
Mr. Chair, not to belabor this too terribly much. I know you got some new business items. And I don't think this is out of line. It's not really an action, but when that request comes, you only meet once a month. So to designate someone to go and potentially do that, I mean, I don't know how to play this out all the way. But it could add more delay if there's a request from council for someone and then we have it on the first Monday of the month and then it's scheduled. I mean, it could be several months into next school year, potentially, easily. So without taking an action, is there some direction of?
Let's see when and if and what, and then we'll go from there. There's nothing to say if we get a request that a commission member come to a council meeting that I can't get on the phone to a council member and say, here, we've got it. You want to be the one? I understand the calendar problem. And should it come prior to our monthly meeting with the mayor to plan this agenda, then we would certainly discuss it regarding putting it on the agenda, what we do with it. We need to see when and if and what. Okay. Commissioner Hopkins, you get the microphone for the next one, sir. Information request regarding e-scooters and e-bikes in Meridian. You have the microphone, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This has bothered me probably since Christmas time when I really noticed the sudden increase in the amount of scooters, and not that I have a problem with scooters or e-bikes but what I seem to notice is younger and younger and younger children are riding these on the sidewalk, in the roadway, in traffic. I see going along Eagle Road on a 10-foot sidewalk, they're popping wheelies, wheeling down the sidewalk, half falling over at times, cutting across Eagle Road ahead of intersections. And so then I start thinking, well, what can you do about it? I mean, some of this goes back on parents and learning. What it seems like is, when we were growing up, I'll date myself, I had to pedal a bike, so your actions were a little more under control. Or if you were lucky enough to get a motorized motorcycle or something, it was loud, it was noisy, people paid attention to you. People made sure you followed the rules. Well, these e-bikes make no noise, for one. And it seems like they don't have to follow any, I know they do, or they're supposed to, but they're not following rules. They're riding on the sidewalks, they're riding in the street, they're disregarding intersections. And what's going to happen is the poor guy that runs into one of those unknowingly, he's going to pay the price for kids not paying attention to what their actions are doing. And I thought it was interesting when we had this kind of mini conversation about this. Commissioner Ballard's mentioned, we miss, I don't know about you guys, but there's times I miss a motorcycle where I didn't see that coming at all. And now you're talking about something that makes no noise and are small. I mean, I see grown adults on a bicycle that I wouldn't dare touch. So I wish I had a solution. I mean, I'm just kind of telling you things I see, and it's people are going to get killed. People are going to get hurt. And we need to do something about it. And I don't know if it's enforcement. I did see a video of I think the officer was in Vegas, but I'm not sure, of a kid doing what I just saw the other day, where he doesn't get up to the stoplight and he cuts in front on a street much like Eagle Road, and cuts before he gets to the stoplight because cars are stopped, but he's not in the intersection, and just cuts straight across Eagle Road. And the cop pulled him over, made him sit on the sidewalk on the edge of the curb, and just kind of told him the what fors on, you're going to get killed. So I don't know what we do. I think I'd asked you, Sergeant, one time whether you, and it's been 3-4 months ago, if you had seen increased issues with bikes and scooters and kids. I mean, I saw them popping wheelies in front of the Albertsons on Amity, riding back and forth right in front of the door, the main door going into Albertsons. I think they've since stopped that, but for 2 weeks solid, I'd see them. So Sergeant, have you seen an increase in people complaining about those?
Commissioner Hopkins, thank you. If I could ask a question, did you call police when you saw the reckless activities going on?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I have seen an increase as well, and I will say mostly when I'm off duty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing it when I'm as an officer, and it is concerning. I know there are some major headlines going throughout the country about e-bicycle and e-motor, unfortunately injuring and killing people for their reckless driving. It sounds like you guys know this, but e-bicycle with the pedal assist, e-motor with the peg, right? That's how we teach our officers. That's the distinction. There's not a class, there's not CCs, there's not watts. That's how we label it for our standards. Since January 1st, we've had 24 instances with e-bikes/e-motors. Most of them are simple welfare checks, riding in the middle of a street. Officers don't necessarily locate them. We've had multiple groups of 20 or 30 on a few occasions. I believe that was early March, where they get together and cause havoc. We, the SROs, kind of tracked it down on that end and kind of put a stop to that. We haven't seen that since. Stand by for the summer. We have had a few flee from us, as our officers do not pursue, but the lights will come on based on their actions. We want them to stop. They take off. That is a fairly common occurrence. When I say that, maybe 5 to 6 out of those times, and that's just me going off the top of my head. And we have ways to track them down. We're going to start putting out some information for our officers on what we could do better. If you haven't been briefed on the Skydio, the drone capabilities as well, we can integrate our drone. Welcome to the new world. Our drone into play before we ever make action, so the drone could follow them back to their residence. We look at it as this. There is a great, I watched a body worn camera the other day of one of our officers. Now, he is a motorcycle rider. I am not necessarily one. I would probably not be long for this world if I did. But he found and stopped these 3 to 4 young persons that were on e-bikes, e-motors, and an e-bike, and called every one of their parents, had discussions with every one of them. All the parents were clueless. All the parents were clueless on they need a motorcycle helmet, they need registration, they need insurance, they can't be riding through parks, because that was the initial call and complaint, with some foul language directed towards the person that was calling. And that was all explained, and every parent handled it exactly what you would hope a parent would handle it like. Bikes gone forever, very upset, and thank you, officer, for educating me on this. So what we've done and what I've done over the last week and what we're going to try to do, roll out this week with the mayor's approval and the chief's approval. We've got some flyers that we can put out to West Ada, every single school within West Ada individually, their websites. I've talked to our crime prevention team. We're going to put out information to HOAs here in the city. We're going to get fire involved, our social media, the mayor's social media, because it's all about education. From what I've seen and talked to other parents, they just don't realize. They don't realize these e-motors or bikes go this fast. Once again, on an e-bicycle, you can be in the park, you can be on the path, but that doesn't mean you can be going 30 plus miles an hour when there's people using the path as you know, they're supposed to. So education is a play. We can talk about all day the offenses and how much we can charge them and everything like that, including a parent allowing their underage child to actually ride this on the road or in a park or anywhere else where they're not supposed to be. But I think education is the key at this point for us.
Help me, I'm interrupting you a moment. Help me out. What's the difference between the two, an e-bike and an e-motor?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, as I said, an e-bicycle has pedals, pedal assist. Also, it can run off the electric motor, but it has the pedals. So that would be considered an e-bicycle. It has every other legal responsibility as a normal bicycle rider in the city of Meridian. They can ride on the paths as long as they're going the appropriate speed, not doing crazy actions. The motorcycle would be with the pegs. So the fixed peg, like a motorcycle, right? And then they are supposed to have the registration, insurance, the helmet. They're supposed to have a motorcycle endorsement. So they're supposed to be licensed.
And I was going to ask, and you still got the floor, but
You're fine.
one more interruption. This was put on the agenda as e-scooters and e-bikes because that's what we heard you ask for at the last meeting. Ask the sergeant, where does an e-scooter fall into this?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, yeah, the e-scooter would fall under the same as the e-bicycles.
Okay.
It's a stand-up scooter, like the old
Okay.
Razors or anything like that.
Okay. Mr. Hopkins, anything else, sir?
No, I appreciate that. Actually, it's a lot more than I thought we were doing. So that's good to know. Cause I'm with you. I think it goes back to parents. We can't run around. I mean, you've got enough to do in the city. We talked about congestion and cars and all the things that are going on. Running around policing 12, 13-year-olds on e-bikes, e-scooters, motors is a little bit above and beyond the call of duty, but we need to get parents to understand that they're going to get their kids killed.
Yes, sir, and Commissioner Hopkins, and we do have some of our SROs that have went ahead and made PowerPoints and they actually speak to their schools when they have opportunities. I know back when I was with the SRO team, we would have our SROs actually go out to the bike racks. And obviously, if there was an e-motor there, not legal, how'd you get it here, right? They would be educated and that wouldn't come back. So we've been trying to work this. I wish we probably would have got parents a little bit more involved sooner. We even talked about going to our local businesses and educating them. I think a lot of people are getting these online, so they're not having the business owner sell them, where we can educate at that source, unfortunately.
Interestingly, I attended a VRT planning meeting this morning and got a question from the chair of the ACHD, I think they call it Bicycle Committee, about what was the Meridian Transportation Commission doing about this. And I thought, well, and I think I said, interesting, you should ask. It's on the agenda this afternoon. Would you like to come? Oh, I've got a conflict, but I will watch it online. And from that, I learned, and I think Caleb may be able to expand this, that the city has a website regarding this topic and that the mayor put out a memo. I guess it was a memo, the middle part of April about this, which is where that VRT, ACHD person came up with this because they'd seen the mayor's memo, which I never have. But Mr. Hood, anything other,
Everything you
elaborate?
said, Mr. Chair, I think Craig just pulled up the web page that the city has. I did because Commissioner Hopkins asked for it. I forwarded him on. It's called City News. So the mayor's blog this last month was about this topic. So he did speak on it a little bit and some of the things that are in motion that way. What was the third one? VRT ACHD website. Yeah, I don't have anything. Maybe just to kind of tie that up in one question I'm kind of curious about, and I don't want to be the old, get off my lawn guy, but is there something, maybe not as a corporate body we do, but as individuals, when we witness this, are we supposed to call non-emergency or 911 or like, I'm not the one to parent the kid necessarily, but do you just look the other way and hope they don't get hit or hurt someone else? Or what are we to do as individual citizens, if anything?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, yeah, great question. Yeah, you can always call the non-emergency number, 888-6678. Even if you call 911, they would ask you if it's emergency, they would put you on hold. But the way I look at it is from a law enforcement point of view is if someone is calling in concerned about wrong actions that someone is doing, especially when they're younger, and it's a good educational moment. I'm not saying an officer is going to immediately respond. I'm not going to say that they're able to be in the area, but if they happen to be, it's a great way to teach a young person and their parent of the wrong that they're doing. And that's in anything. So feel free to please reach out.
Personally, I had in front of my house one or two, maybe three kids riding something, e-bike, e-motor, motorcycle, something, and doing wheelies in the middle of a 25-mile-an-hour city block. And somehow I learned which house one of them lived at, which was about 5 down from my house. And I went down and knocked on the door. And I said, "Are your parents home?" "No, they're not here." I don't know whether they were or not, but I told him, I said, "I understand that you're either one of them or they're coming from here sometimes." And I said, "Somebody's going to get killed." And pretty much left it at that. And I have not seen them in front of my house again. I don't know, maybe that particular kid that I talked to told him, cut it out, or something. But to have an old guy show up at the door and not tell you don't do it, not tell you can't do it, not tell them you're breaking the law, just that somebody's going to get killed if they keep on doing that, appears to have done some good. Anything? Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
listening to Commissioner Hopkins talk here, the wheel must have just been invented when he was riding bicycles back then. Sorry, Tracy, but I know this is an emerging topic, right? It's an emerging device. This Meridian's not the only place this discussion's happening, right? I don't know who to even ask this question to, but do we see emerging trends on how to deal with this issue? And I guess a secondary question to that is, with current city ordinances or state code, are the right tools in place to address, concerns with the e-bikes all this stuff, right? So I guess those are the two questions. Are there trends emerging on how to deal with this topic, and are the existing tools in place, or do there need to be different tools?
I think the sergeant has answered both of those. Well, answered the first one, maybe not the second. The first one, I heard him say was talk to the parents. And based upon his report, and maybe my experience with the house down the street, it can do some good. The parents either may not know about it at all, or once it's called to their attention, they act like parents.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Tisha Murray. I also wanted to just let you guys know that I'm working with the legal advisors. I'm the primary legal advisor for the Meridian Police Department, and I'm working with the legal advisors to Boise PD and the Ada County Sheriff's Office and the Garden City Attorney. And we are kind of combining efforts and training to get a central position on this and have all officers and deputies reaching out and doing this education piece. So we're working with all of our Valley partners to make sure that we get the same message out and handle this the same way, and hoping that'll help.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'll turn around and ask you a question while I also ask it of the sergeant. Are there, the second part of Mr. Lancaster's comments or question, is there a need for new additional city or state codes regarding this problem?
We are looking at all of that. There would be like a class 4 bike because class 1 through 3 are already handled in the code. We did not get anything done in the legislature this year, and we may not be able to get anything done. But as cities, we can pass city codes if we need to fill in the blanks. So we're working on all of that together and trying to make a plan for that.
Sergeant, same question to you. Anything additional regarding additional city, state codes that would help?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I will just say that the other states have actually seized these e-motors and whatnot as well. So other states are taking the bikes away from the people based on whatever criminal event or traffic-related issue that they did. But I'll adhere back to what Tishra said.
Hopkins?
I think we're moving forward.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I know it sounds like this kind of looking at legislative kind of options is larger than this commission or even the city. But just I know we do have I don't remember the exact name at the moment, but a subcommittee focused on code, code review or kind of code creation. So this kind of rhymes a little bit with my recollection of the ATV UTV kind of stuff around collectors and arterials. Obviously, it's a different beast entirely, but if there's any opportunity for the subcommittee to be of use, I guess I just want to throw that out as an opportunity.
Mr. Leclerc.
Everyone's looking at me. Yes, I think that we'd be welcome to take on that subject and see if there's when the city attorney thinks it would be good to amend our city ordinance to accommodate coverage of these new e-scooters and all, we'd be happy to participate in that process and maybe move it through our commission and send it on to the city council. That'd be great.
Mr. Ballard.
Mr. Chairman, let me make one comment. Reckless driving is not limited to the kids. Speaking in my age group, I saw a couple people who I could relate to, how they got onto the bike and how they held onto it and maintained their balance going down a narrow path and avoiding people on the path. And that was a question I didn't want to see the result of. And I made the disclaimer of my age. I don't think I would be riding in that same manner as they were.
Anything else on this topic?
Mr. Chairman,
Lancaster.
I just think of some of the circles that I run in as far as engineering policy and whatnot. And I know there's at least some advocating for things like speed limit signs for shared use paths and things like that. And their argument being, well, these e-bikes and e-devices can, go faster than pedaling Tracy's bicycle as a kid, right? And they seemingly haven't been received real well to this point. For instance, the question always comes up of, well, you can put up whatever sign you want, but how is it going to be enforced, right? And my mind immediately goes to, say, the Boise Greenbelt, where, yeah, there's some officers on bikes that you see occasionally, right? But how are they going to determine and enforce, determine speed and enforce a speed limit? So I guess that's always in my mind of how enforceable are things actually, if the person on the bike goes down a alley or whatever where a patrol car can't go. You kind of mentioned that. What do you do about it, right? So get out the drone, I guess. But one of the ideas was, the speed limit on a shared use path should be set in 2 mile per hour increments, which is different than current practice on streets or roads where it's 5 mile per hour increment. Is that too fine of a, 2 miles per hour is walking speed, right? So do you have a speed limit that could be any 2 mile per hour increment, right? Well, how useful is that, right? So anyway, this is I guess my point is there's discussions happening and not a whole lot of good answers.
Mr. Bergman, would you send each of us the city website on this, the link? Save us having to try to find it. Not that it would be hard to find, but it'd be easier if you'd send it to us.
You got it, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Ex officio updates. Let me find my list of, well, I'll just run the whole list because somebody may have joined us late that we didn't know about. Let's start with Rebecca Phillips with ACHD. Do you have anything, ma'am?
Hi, Council President. Thanks for having me, you guys. I have a few updates. The ACHD Commission, we have Justin Lucas presenting to the ACHD Commission this Wednesday, just on the 5-year plan budget. And some of that trickles into the 5-year plan process this year. Then the following week on May 13th, Edison will be presenting on the 5-year plan partner agency and public feedback that we received. So that includes all of the agency's top priority projects. And other than that, I don't have any other particular updates to provide to the committee at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Austin Miller joined us. Okay, no one from Compass. West Ada School District, please. Miranda.
Hello, Mr. Chair. We don't have a lot of updates. We're gearing up to end the school year and get ready for next school year. It's already said we have 2 weeks left, so we're excited about that. And we've got some buses running this summer, so just remember to keep your eye out. Just because the school's out doesn't mean the buses aren't making stops. So we still need people being careful around them in traffic.
And I understand that y'all are working to expand the district and your buses have to go with that, right?
We are not expanding the district. The boundaries of the district remain the same. We are adding an additional school, and we've also added an additional CTE center that we're working on getting that expanded.
Oh, thank you very much for the clarification. Appreciate it. Kate Dahl with VRT, have you come on? Or you still, you were on, or you're still on? Mr. Price, are you out there?
Yes, Mr. Commissioner, how are you?
Well, welcome. I'm glad you joined us. Anything from ITD? And if you'd like to tell us what Highway 16 is going to cause to happen and not happen around the area, we'd appreciate that too.
Sure. So there is quite a bit of work that's been done on State Highway 16 with traffic modeling, and traffic modeling can be tricky because your results are as good as the inputs that you put in. So you do your best to get the most accurate data that you can and almost hope for the best in some cases, but it will relieve some of the pressure from the models I saw. It will relieve some of the pressure on 10 Mile. With the new development that's going in on 10 Mile, I think most in this meeting would agree that probably would have been nice to get some additional lanes, but it's where it will be. But the models do show some of the congestion moving over to 16 and relieving 10 Mile. There's another mobility study that's being done right now that goes from Garrity all the way in to part of the connector, and it's looking at 30-year projections with traffic. So that report is getting close to being done. They were finalizing a presentation on that this week. I saw some initial stuff and had a meeting on that. So just looking at what will the interstate look like. There will, some of the things they're looking at are auxiliary lanes, which are the kind of slip lanes that were mentioned earlier in this meeting, additional lanes themselves, potential ramp metering, things like that. And then again, doing some pretty intense modeling to see which things will do the best. So there is quite a bit of work going. As far as doing a interchange at Linder, it's too closely spaced between the other interchanges on the other two ends. So that actually ends up usually making more of an issue than a help, unfortunately. Yeah, that's off the top of my head. That's the answers that I have regarding State Highway 16 and general mobility on the interstate. One additional thing that I was going to mention last month, but we ran short on time, but maybe everyone's aware, but Commissioner Lancaster, he was nominated as a chair, not just regionally or state, but on the National Temporary Traffic Control Group. So he's chairing that. So that's a pretty big deal. And so I wanted to recognize him for that. And that's all I have.
Congratulations.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, Justin.
Mr. Price, don't misunderstand my comment about Lunder. It was not for an exchange. An exit only northbound off of the westbound interstate. Sergeant Carter, anything else out there, sir?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I know we had talked about West Pine, west of 10 Mile, east of Black Cat last month. So I had our traffic solution, our speed radar data tracker set up out there for the last 22 days. Out of 123,000 cars, the speed limit out there is 35 miles an hour. The average speed was just under 31. So there may be some speeders on that road, but for the most part, it seems like it appears to be a pretty safe stretch of road.
I would love to know the volume now that Houston and Black Cat's open to see if 123 goes up or goes down?
Yes, sir.
I'd be curious.
We can find out.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have to share one comment with Sergeant Carter. It seems that one of your patrol officers was in stealth mode the other day at a light. One car behind and to the left was a younger person reading the phone, cell phone. And I go, isn't she aware that she pulled up next to a police officer or just behind a police officer? I had to move on, so I didn't see the end of that, but she didn't get the memo.
Mr. Commissioner, I agree.
You comment earlier, you're obviously writing tickets for cell phone usage in automobiles.
Yes,
or
yes, sir.
by drivers in automobiles.
Yes, sir.
It's probably not the highest thing on your list, but you obviously are doing it. Okay, Ms. Murray, anything else from legal, please?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Staff communications, Mr. Bergman, are you going to run that one for us, please?
I would be happy to, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, we've got a couple that were carried over from last month. There are a couple of requests in there. If you'd like, we can go through each one, or you guys can take a minute to review each one and then come at me with any questions you may have. Council, your discretion.
Let's give them a moment to refresh their minds as to what they are and see if anybody has any questions or comments.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Leclerc.
this Millwood neighborhood location.
You're on page 42, correct?
Am I?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. On page 42, he's
Yes,
talking
yes,
about.
42, exactly right. Yeah, so there's this big segment of pathway that the writer seems to think would help. Is that on our projects, or it might be on the Parks and Rec list of projects? Do we know what the status of that is? Is that something we need to add to our projects list, or what background did staff discover on that communication? I don't know if that's happened.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Leclerc, yeah,
sir.
currently that is a proposed pathway that is not constructed. And the comment from the citizen is that they are asking when or if that is going to be constructed with additional development, or is that something we can prioritize to get constructed currently?
Is the adjacent development, I can't read the street name because of the red line through it, but are lots 64, 65, 66, 81, 80, 79, 78, is that constructed yet?
Mr. Chair, I believe it is.
So it's been constructed adjacent to it without the path being constructed.
Mr. Chair, I believe that's correct. Yes.
So, Mr. Hood, I'll throw this one to you. What does the city do about that? Is that, as Mr. Leclerc questioned, something for Parks and Rec to figure out and how to pay for, or what's the process here?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is one where I don't think it's appropriate to put on our request list to ACHD, but it is transportation related. So I don't see ACHD building this segment of pathway. You can see on that page 42, that dashed orange is, the planned pathway. But like Craig mentioned, there's no real plan to construct it. It's just that it's part of the master plan. So it's not in anyone's budget. Mr. McClure did just chime in on Teams and mentioned he's been in conversations and believes at least a good chunk of that pathway should have been constructed with the adjacent development to the east. I'm looking at ownership though, and there's a large parcel that hasn't been annexed and zoned in the city. So it's on private property. So we need an easement and then the funds to construct that if that property doesn't develop first. So I'm not quite sure, but it looks like the Deschambault property is right there. So I didn't do any research before this meeting, so I'm not quite sure, but Brian seems to believe that it should be on the west side and constructed with that project. So we'll look into that and see if that developer should be on the hook to finish it off, make that connection.
And the circled pathway is not along a canal, is that correct?
There's a waterway there. Yes, I'm not sure how much water, if it's classified as a canal or the name, if it's a creek. It looks like a pretty good facility though.
Okay,
And one of the,
go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, and one of the overheads, this jog that we see on this yellow dotted line on page 42, I think that's a little bridge that goes over a canal. So there's may not take much to get this done. I think it's been surveyed, it looks like. But anyway, that's
Maybe a matter of
there's a lot
grading
to-
and
lot to
grading,
find out.
grading and paving? Okay. Anyone have any questions or comments on item number 2? The Dave Miles email of March 11 kind of leaves a question hanging, and my question would be, either one of you two gentlemen on the staff over there know the status of this? Anything happened or happening?
Mr. Chair, if you are referencing Philip Ducasse, I believe is the original request.
I'm on page 45. So-
Yes. So the original request, there was concern from a citizen about the expansion of Locust Grove cutting into his property line and bringing the road up within 3 feet of his fence line.
Right.
And he was interested in knowing if there was going to be any plan to expand that road. It kind of goes in hand with a project that is in works. Right now, I believe Caleb went to ACHD meeting at Chief Joseph Elementary School talking about this project. So there are a couple of, there are a couple of alternative concepts that ACHD proposed for that project. That is something that is going to be brought to you guys.
I can also just let the commission know I did talk to Mr. Dacus a 3 times, and we had some back and forth emails as well. He was going to, my advice to him was to organize with his HOA to talk up to ACHD that way and have a unified request of ACHD for some of the fencing that they may have and be part of the process that way. Individuals, it really needs to be done, so it can be, a unified approach up and down the corridor. So, they're still a ways out. They're just wrapping up the concept plan for this. So there is some years yet. Never too early to start that process though. So hopefully he is working with his HOA and again, having as much as they can, a unified front as that negotiation goes forward and what that kind of streetscape looks like along the frontage of their subdivision.
It appeared to me when they widened 10 miles south of Eustis several years ago that as part of the project, new fencing was erected along multiple properties, not the concrete walls that ITD builds along Chinden, but plastic or wooden fencing because of the way the road was expanded. Okay. And then we have, I think, the third one. Greg, we still got to get together and talk about how to do these things because I have a hell of a time with them. Mr. Somers' topic, I am I have not reached out to ask him to come. I would not have been surprised had he come, since he's very much excited about truck braking on Chinden, Black Cat to Linder. But I understand from previous conversations with the PD that virtually impossible to enforce, even if you could say you can't do that. So yeah,
Yeah,
Good
Mr.
luck.
Chair, that whole, it's 3, 4, 5 pages. I mean, it sort of morphed into a couple of topics I heard you just talk about. I mean, speed limit concerns and then also Jake breaks or, are kind of morphed in from the original complaint or concern to the other. And I feel like we beat that to death just a couple of years ago and have a stance on that. And we tried to educate him and say, here's what signs can and can't go up and on highways and policies and talking with ACHD and the state and the whole thing. So, yeah, just kind of bringing you in the loop there. We haven't talked about speed limits on Chinden recently, but, did, offer, hey, if you want to come and talk about it with the commission, we're here practically every Monday at 3:30. So the first Monday of every month at 3:30, I should say.
Okay, anyone with anything on staff communications? You have the list of future meeting topics on page 2 of the agenda packet. I have 2 more items that are not on the agenda that I'm going to insert. The first is to tell everyone, in case you don't know, that Commissioner Shoemaker has decided not to re-up his position on this august group. And I personally want to thank him very much for having been on, for the time he's been on, and to tell him that were he here, I would be able to hand him a certificate of appreciation signed by our mayor. I will make sure that this gets to you by whatever means the staff finds appropriate, and wish you well. I suspect, as you have missed a couple of meetings, that your workload is either picked up or you've been told that you need to go work a project in East Undershirt, Idaho, and it's a lot more travel time than you have been having to use up in the past. So anyway, thank you very much. Does anyone else have any comments at all?
Thank you for serving.
And then the last thing that I have, the city held a volunteer commission member luncheon 2 weeks ago and had a few goodies on the tables along with a really good lunch from Blimpies. But today we've been given more little goodies that were not at the luncheon. So those of you that weren't there get this, and those that were get it too. And Mr. Shoemaker, I will ask staff to forward yours along with your certificate. Our next meeting is on June the 1st. And having nothing else, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hopkins, second by
Second.
Mr. Lancaster. Non-debatable. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all. Mr. Smith, you take care out there.
Likewise, Mr. Chair. Thank you.